Happy New Year. Nice.
Right now. Okay. Yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the first Playfair Friday of 2021. I'm your girl, Demita, sitting in with host P. Weezy. How you doing, P. Weezy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well.
I ain't seen you since last year.
I know, right? Seems like forever.
So how was your New Year?
Man, I didn't do nothing special. I live a boring life.
There's two of us. You know what I mean? I
Right.
just keep it simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we didn't have our fun in the summer.
Right. I remember when it was my duty to get out there with them, but COVID and everything, I was just like, yeah. I did a little Uber. I did like a few rides, maybe okay, and then I called it a night.
Okay. How was the city? Was it busy in the city?
It was pretty busy. A lot of out of towners. They were coming down because their cities were shut down.
Okay.
So
why not come to the AZU?
right. Right. So today on Playfair Friday, we're gonna talk about what's been going on the news for the last couple of days with the Trump supporters, the Trump rallies, and we want to talk about the differences of how they were treated along compared to the Black Lives Matter protests that happened over the summer. I have one of my guests just showed up. We have Sally. How you doing, girl?
Okay. How you doing, Sally?
Sally, this is P. Weezy. I've known her for 20 years, but I've been following her on social media, and she's a real advocate for human rights, and I love her mind and how she thinks. And she's a registered Republican, but you decided to go Democrat with this election, right?
Yes, I did.
And we have another one on his way. He should be pulling up in a second, Brian Hopkins. So I would like to welcome you to Playfair Fridays. Thank you for coming and blessing us with your knowledge. How's your New Year going so far?
You know, it's a little weird. Everyone's is.
Right. COVID and everything. They just canceled my baby's school for the next 2 weeks because of COVID. So that's about it. We got a lot of We've got a lot of shows coming up for the new year. I would like to thank everybody for their support in 2020. We just kind of jumped off with it and it grew every week. Playfair Fridays. I've been getting a lot of messages from everywhere in the country. Our viewers are growing as the weeks go on. So thankful for P. Weezy for allowing me to bring the cases to his platform, and I'm thankful for everybody for tuning in, along with my fair staff. Thank you to Danielle Johnson and Tammy Capps for all that they do. And thank you to all the cases that allow us to share their story. We've got more to come for 2021. So I think you guys will be very excited. So what you got going on for this year?
Really, I don't really do the New Year's resolution. What I wanted to do was just kind of just stay focused. And, when I was younger, my mom used to always tell me to set goals. And I would set goals, and each Sunday, she would ask me to repeat the goals that I set.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't. And then she would get mad, and she'd be like, "You're not setting any goals." So she'd be like, "Well, now you're going to have to write them down. Write them on a piece of paper." So I would write the goals on a piece of paper, and then when Sunday would come, she'd be like, "Where's your goals?" So I'll be looking for the paper. I'm looking under the bed, looking at my dresser. I couldn't find the paper. "Oh, you're not making any goals. You're just not going to do anything in life, right?" So she said, "Now I want you to write your goals on a piece of paper and put it on the refrigerator." I was like, "Put it on the refrigerator?" "Yeah, because that seems like the only thing y'all do is eat, eat, eat. So at least when you go to the refrigerator, you could be able to see the goals."
Right.
So that kind of stuck with me. So I had to get back to the roots of just kind of just setting some goals for 2021. And, when you can see it, you can believe it, but you got to work to achieve it, So
yes.
That's really what my whole mindset is.
Right.
Try to stay focused.
See, what I did was I stopped doing New Year's resolutions because I don't never follow through with them. I'll do good for like a week or two. I had already started working out when I came off my surgery, and I weighed myself, and I've been working my butt off. I lost 2 pounds, so I was kind of disappointed. But
you want a donut, do you?
No, I don't. I do not. But other than that, I just kind of looked at UPS, and I'm getting my real estate license reinstated. So I'm going to be back in real estate. And then fair, what I want to, I talked to Iz about what are we going to do moving forward, because we've been getting a lot of people interested in this growth. Some people reached out to us about starting chapters in various cities. And we're about to get our 501c3. So once we get that, then we'll probably be able to help more faster instead of depending on the Cash App donations.
Right.
Because with that, I usually only help one person at a time, and then when I'm done with them, then we can help you. And
Right. Kind of speed up the process.
Right. I think because there's so many people coming for us, and then like I said, yesterday I sat down with one of the guys that did our death row show, and he taught me so much about the cases and how to know when I'm being bullshitted,
right,
and how to know when to take the case. Because he was reading through some of my cases online that I post, and he said they sound like BS to him.
Okay.
But so I had to give him the case numbers, and he was just like, you could actually win this one. Nah, you're not gonna be able to get him out because, and he was breaking the laws down and how the court system works and why we're not gonna be able to win certain cases and
right, what
we can do to get certain people back in court. So we were on the phone like 3 hours, and I learned a lot more.
And I think that's awesome because you definitely, are outstretched as much as you can. Mm-hmm. So to have someone that can facilitate that aspect of it, it definitely help you out from a timetable standpoint because you don't want to spend a lot of time on something that.
And I really don't like to take cases where people have a seat. Right. I don't like to take cases where people have been in a short amount of time because they rush me.
Okay.
But the lifers, the people that's been sitting 10 and 20 years, they know they may only get one shot. They don't want you to rush it because they want to get out. Right. But those who have been in for like a couple of years and they're facing life, they want out today. And so they'll send me a case that's 20,000 pages. And did you read it? No, I did not. Well, why not? Because you're not the only case, and I have a job, and I have a daughter, and I have this and this and that, and we're short staffed. A couple of the guys that was helping me from inside the prison are free, and now they want to get paid. So it's like, things change. I'm glad they're free, but we got a lot of restructuring to do, but everything's going to work out in the end. So my second guest is here. I've also known Brian for over 20 years. Right. As a matter of fact, I met y'all both about the same time. But I invited y'all both to the show. I was supposed to do a show on Mississippi, and then I started watching the news. And I was like, nah, I want to talk about this because I was sitting there watching all the injustices that were going on right in our face. And I was like, if this was a Black Lives Matter protest. And then I was listening to what CNN was saying, like the part where they're looking in the camera and they're smiling and they're waving. It's like, if you know who this guy is or who this woman is, let us know. And I'm like, we could have all went in there with Batman masks on, and they would be like, we looking for Demeter Bishop and Brian Hopkins, whatever. And then I was just watching everything and how they tried to dumb it down a little bit so it didn't seem as bad as what we were seeing. And then, reading comments on the CNN page and on social media of how other Black people felt, like, wow, really? Also, the guys gonna open the door and let them in, and you guys are just gonna do this and that. But I invited you because in our friendship, in every election that we've been friends, it's Democrat, Republican, and we conversations about who we're voting for and why, but we stay friends through it all. But in this election, people are actually losing friendships because of their choice. And I didn't know what you voted for until you told me.
I noticed that you have a little more tolerance than I do.
Right. No. When we comment on the same post, I'm accepting and understanding and she's hell no. Nope. So I asked her to come in
because there's political parties and there's just right and wrong.
Right, exactly. But now right and wrong, I'm gonna jump on that. But I feel like everybody has a right to believe what they want to believe, and you have a right to, if you believe in Trump, you have that right to believe in Trump. But are you not seeing what I'm seeing?
You can. I'm just not going to occupy the same space with you.
So I know if I'm not overstepping my bounds, did you guys vote for him The last round,
No,
the first time.
neither time.
Were you even interested in voting
No.
for him?
As you know, I'm a lifelong Republican.
Right,
4 years ago, I severed all ties with the Republican Party
right.
over this man.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going
Yeah.
back since. As a matter of fact, I've worked with a little bit with John Ossoff
Mhm.
and his campaign, helping him get elected.
Right,
So, no.
I worked with Hillary's campaign.
right.
4
I
years
do
ago.
remember that, yeah. And even voting for Hillary wasn't easy for me, but I was, only because I had matured up a little bit and actually did some research and reading on my own, and the crime bill just didn't sit too tight with me at that point. But I wasn't going to vote for Trump. But honestly, when I made the decision the first time, it wasn't because of anything I knew. It was because it was just something about him. So that was what it was like for me. I didn't actually have any facts on him. The more people tried to persuade me that he's not a politician, he's a businessman, and things are going to be different. It was just looking at him. I was like, about this guy. And I know that's not a good way to vote, but that's why I wouldn't vote for him. It was just something about him. I just couldn't do it.
The things that he brings out of people,
Mm-hmm.
it was already there, but it's too much for me.
Right. Now, we talked about how during the first election, I usually don't watch the Republican debates. I always watch the Democrat ones. But I watched every Republican debate the first time Trump ran, just to see what he was going to say next. And then I thought, he's got to be joking. I cannot believe he doesn't want to be the
I didn't
president.
take it seriously at all
He does
either.
not want to be the president. What was your thoughts that first?
I just didn't take it seriously either. Exactly the same. I thought it was really just to promote his popularity in his shows,
Yeah.
honestly, because everything he says is just so ridiculous.
Right. What about you, Brian?
I did do research on him.
Right.
And that's exactly why I didn't like him.
Right.
If you want to go back in time and just go through the history of events he's got a long historical trail of racism.
Right.
Go back to the 70s, he was sued for housing development, for discriminatory practices there. If you go into the 80s, he made a comment in Playboy magazine where he stated, well, I don't want a black guy counting my money. I want a guy with a yarmulke counting my money. And then later, a few years later, when somebody asked him, I said, his statement was, well, if they quote me, I probably said.
Let's not forget about the boys too.
Yeah.
Central Park Files.
Right. Right.
That's the coup. To this day, there's never been an apology.
No
Oh,
backtracking.
he's not going to.
Exactly. And that's
Right.
the history of this man. I never come back and apologize for
Right.
things that have gone wrong in my life. Do I want that man leaving my country?
No.
Absolutely not.
Now, the only thing I liked about him is that he let us know exactly who he was early on. He's not like most politicians where they put on a different face to get in office. He showed us who he was. And I think that's how he rose to power because, he showed us he don't give a damn about women. He don't give a damn if you're different. You're in a wheelchair. He make fun of you. And, a lot of the white supremacists or whatever,
And see, that's
they
why
was like, our leader.
and that's why I respectfully disagree.
Right.
Because his narrative changes based off the audience that he's talking to.
Mhm.
When questioned about black people, well, I've given you more jobs than anybody. I've done more for black people ever than Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
But when I'm confronted with a question about the riots that happened in Kentucky a couple of years ago, well, they're very fine people on both sides.
Right.
The narrative changes based off of the audience. And I think that's where he's gotten so much appeal.
See, I never heard him say anything to capture the black audience. It was always, I did you guys a favor. Well, I, gave some funding to the HBCUs. You guys should vote for me. And then he insults us with the First Step Act, like all of us, are in prison or getting ready to go. Well, the First Step Act, if you go to prison, you can get out. Like, okay. So, me who never committed a crime should vote for you for the First Step Act. But personally, that's the only thing he did I like, other than the HBCU. Those are the only things he did that I like. And if it wasn't for fair, I wouldn't pay the first step at any attention. But it's our go-to almost in every situation. Like if they can qualify for any part of that, we can possibly get them some relief on their sentences. But FAIR has joining FAIR a year ago has caused me to be more aware of what's going on in the world around me. I've always kind of been, but not really. Now I'm on top of everything because I have to know, I have cases where they're waiting on a law to change. So I have to watch for laws changing in different states, not just Georgia. And then, certain judges have to get out of office in order for this person for us to take him back to court or her back to court. So it's forcing me to pay attention more. And for that, I'm thankful. You wanted to talk about white privilege.
You want to talk about my trip to the ER recently?
Yes, ma'am.
My trip to the ER in downtown Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically had a scratch. I just want somebody to look at. No big deal. Didn't really know where to go. Didn't have any insurance. I walk over to the ER, and it's a whole waiting room full of black folks, horribly injured, been in car accidents, brought in by ambulances, waiting. And I check in, and before my butt even hits the seat, the nurse comes out and calls me to the back. I'm in and out 40 minutes. And when I leave, same people sitting in the waiting room.
Wow.
It was like,
and you didn't have, because I was telling somebody this story.
I was ready to wait my turn.
Right. I was telling somebody this story that you told me yesterday, and I was thinking back to before I started working for UPS, I had to use Medicaid. I didn't have insurance, but my children used Medicaid, and my youngest son had to have surgery on his sinuses. And the first surgery, he was 5, and I hadn't started UPS, or my insurance hadn't kicked in yet. And when they did the surgery, it was like 15 minutes, it was quick. And then they put him in a wagon and I wheeled him to the car and we went home. Like we were home within 2 hours. But second stage of the surgery, I had Aetna through UPS and we got to spend the night. They gave me a tray of food. And I was like, what? But it scared me because I was like, we didn't have to stay the night. The last time while we stayed, it was freaking me out. And the nurse said, oh, you got good insurance. And, Medicaid only gave us $3,800 to do his surgery, but Aetna gave us $25,000 and they don't want to give none of the money back. And I was just like, whoa. And then when my daughter had her baby, we were sitting at Emory downtown, and she hadn't started. I mean, she was like 7-8 centimeters. I'm not even that close. She was under 5 centimeters, and we were in a room, and there was a mother sitting in the lobby with Medicaid, and she had to sit there, and she was like, why do y'all let her go back? It's not time for her yet either. And I asked the lady, I said, do you have insurance? She said, my daughter's on Medicaid. I said, my daughter's on my insurance still. I said, that's why we're in the room. And she was hot, and the nurse said, well, go to Atlanta Medical. She told her to leave Emory and go to Atlanta Medical. She said, her insurance can afford Emory, yours can't. So when it's time for you to have your baby, I mean, she literally said this to the mom. And the mom was hot. This was a black woman saying it to another black woman. It wasn't even a white woman at this point. But she was like, yeah, your Medicaid, if you want her to be in a room, take her to Atlanta Medical. She'll be able to lay in a room and be comfortable. But her insurance can afford what Emory's doing. Yours can't. So we're basically going to let her spit her baby out, check her vitals, and send her home because that's what you can afford. So I brought that up, Sam. That's where my mind went. I said, before we make this hospital racist, do you think it was an insurance situation? But you just said it was no insurance, so.
Well, I didn't have insurance. I didn't have
Right.
anything. So, and they're not going to get any money from me.
Right. But you just got to shine the white privilege and get the script taken care
Clearly.
of. And,
It's just like every time I get pulled over,
right.
and they're like, oh, sorry, go on about your day, ma'am.
I wish I could do that.
Every
They're
time.
checking stuff, looking under the seats. I'm like, dang, do I look like I got a basic car? What do I look like here? What about you? Have you?
I get pulled over all the time. I drive a Benz,
Right.
so I mean literally every time there's a random random stop,
It's you.
I'm randomly
Don't
stopped.
worry.
So it happens all the time. I've shared this story, but I don't know if I've shared this with you. A few years ago, I was buying some stuff for my company, bringing some stuff for the employees, trying to help them out, lift spirits. I'm coming out of Walmart, and I get a gun drawn on me.
I remember that, you did tell me that
I
story.
got a gun drawn on me. And so I'm sitting there, what's going on? Can you show me a receipt? So, I've got a bunch of bags and all this. So I'm digging around looking for this one receipt. And then, I'm listening to a cop tell me, hey, you're not going to find what you don't have.
Wow.
And, and then I've got the manager and the cashier right there saying, he just left my line, which is basically not phasing the police officer. The manager's asking him, well, why are you stopping him? Well, I've got a report that he stole all the stuff. Now, I've got an entire basket of things, so he just told him, well, who told you that? Guy who told him, driving off in his truck, Confederate flag on it, driving off. Didn't even stop him to question him about it. Finally found the receipt. Then, not only do I find the receipt, the cop proceeds to check the items on the receipt.
To make sure, went through each one.
Each item.
My worst police incident was right after Trayvon Martin got killed. I don't know did I tell you about when the police officer, he pulled me over and he said my car smelled like weed. And I was, now y'all know me, y'all know I don't smell anything. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And he was also calling me a liar. And we just stared at each other for a minute. And I was like, do I say, yeah, get shot? Or do I just say, and I'm just sitting there trying to think of what to say because I know damn well you don't smell no weed in my car. And he's just staring at me and I'm staring at him. And I was like, I don't know what in this car smells like weed to you, but I don't even smoke. And he goes, oh, I clearly smell it. And I said, are you about to plant some drugs in my car?
That's the thing is that you guys got to teach your kids how to talk to police in certain ways that I would never have to even imagine.
Absolutely.
I just am not in these situations.
Right. But see, even with FAIR, I'm the president of FAIR, but I have Tammy and I have Danielle. So if I need a white girl, if they're not listening to me, I say, Danielle, I need your white voice. Can you call this prison and say blah, 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 and where they can get further than me each time. I get on there, they can detect the blackness in my voice. And the crazy thing about it, it's always when it's a black person on the phone though. So they'll get on the phone and I'll say something. I'm like, you're who? Demeter, what? They'll over drill me and they can get on the phone and just say 1 + 1 is 2. And say, okay, hold on 1 second. We'll get you right to the ward, And I'm just sitting up there like, wow. But, it is what it is. It's what we know. Have you had any incidences with the police?
Of course I have. But, coming from Chicago, it was a little different because of how we viewed the police. But coming here to Georgia was definitely an eye opener for myself. I have a lot more respect for the police in the South than I did for the police in the Midwest. They demand respect, and I'm not fearful of them, but I just don't. I just don't want to have to run it with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just and to be honest, to be 100% honest, the white officers have showed me they've given me more passes than the black officers.
Me too.
And it's interesting you said that. I'm a counselor part-time, and I was conducting an anger management. And one of the group members brought that up. And the group was primarily black. And one of the things that came out of there, and it was even from myself, was like, I would much rather deal with a white police officer than a black police officer. It's
Right.
almost like they have something to prove.
Right. But it's even at work. We were talking about this. The white supervisors, we all want to work for them. Because the black women are the worst supervisors that we have. Like they treat the other black women like shit. But black people as your supervisor, period, they want to prove something. And it's like, I'll get rid of you to get to the top. Where the white supervisor is more understanding. And I know, it's kind of rare that we're bringing this up, based on this topic, but it's what we see. It's what I've seen 14 years of working at UPS that, a black supervisor will shit all over you and do whatever, throw you to the wolves just to,
And as bad as it is here, I'm from what your primary topic was going to be, Mississippi.
Mississippi.
And I can tell you, I go to Mississippi now, and I will literally get followed
Oh yeah.
in my car.
Wait till
For
you gotta
20, 30
listen.
minutes.
You might need to come back and do the show with us next week because
I learned a lesson about liberal bumper stickers driving through Mississippi.
right,
Don't do it.
So,
right.
I've literally been stopped and is this your car?
So
Me too, but only when I had liberal bumper stickers.
wow. Well, I've learned doing fair not to stop for gas unless you stop in Jackson or Meridian or Biloxi. Anything else, keep going. You better putt till you get to the next city. So both of you have been registered Republicans your whole life.
I've been registered Republican since George W.,
Okay.
the first one. I normally vote for the guy I'd have a beer with, so
Right.
honestly, that's what it comes down to for me. The guy I want to see talking to me for the next 4 years.
Right.
So,
What about you?
I've been registered Republican up until 2016.
Right.
When it came to the presidential elections, I voted for who I felt best represented me.
Right.
In the 2 prior elections to Trump, that was Barack Obama.
Right.
So that's the reason I went that way. In the senatorial elections for the House, I generally always lean Republicans because they seem to be more in tune with my values.
Right. And me growing up military and me being the way I am, like I don't live off of the government. So people tell me you are a Republican, but I don't know. I've always voted Democrat, but I grew up in a Black Republican household. My grandfather was military, so most older military men, Black, white, whatever, they're Republican, and he loved Reagan and Bush. I mean, when I lived in Texas, Bush was the governor. So I had Father Bush as president, and then W was the governor before I moved here, and then he became the president when I moved here. So for the longest, I was under some type of Bush reign somewhere. But I always tend to vote Democrat. Usually when I look at the debates, the final one, I could kind of see where I would give them a chance, but I always end up going Democrat for whatever reason. My first time voting, I think it was Clinton's second term. And, I was a teenager, so I didn't know no better. I just saw him play the saxophone, and I was like, okay, and I just voted for Clinton. But now when you read up on history and things that they did, it's like, man, it's a lot. I was on the phone with Danielle, who works for FAIR, this morning, and we were trying to figure out when did the Republican Party switch? Because there was definitely a switch, because they're the ones who freed the slaves, and they were the ones proactive in the civil rights movements, and then it switched. So when did
there was a few different moments that it switched. Memory is failing me right now, but I know that it kind of happened slowly through like three separate kind of pitfalls there.
Right. We was trying to figure out when did it happen, and
But
how
it definitely did switch.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, in the 60s is when you started to see the flip. When
The Jim Crow.
Yeah, after that, that's when it really, you saw a lot of, as they call them, the Democratic extremists back then were kind of holding on to the old value, and the new Democrats were trying to grab power. So they saw a new opportunity. So, I mean, it started then and it just continued. And, and now we're where we are now.
Right.
So. And, the other thing, I don't like to call these people that we see now Republicans.
Me neither.
They're Trumpians. Let's call them what they are. They're Trumpians. They have their own set of values. They have their own set of standards.
And most of them were, a lot of them, the working ones, were lifelong Democrats that switched.
Right.
Right. I mean, think about the Republican Party's states' independence.
Right,
Well, guess what? Everything they're going for right now, that has nothing to do with states' independence.
Right.
I want to overthrow all these elections.
right,
Minimal government. No. I want the federal government to go in and throw everything out, and redo everything. I want the Supreme Court to step in and
right,
give us. These aren't Republicans.
right.
These are, like I said, Trump-Republicans.
Yeah.
They're pushing their agenda where they basically want their neighborhoods white and their prisons black, and that's the new Republicans.
Yeah,
That was
definitely.
the only thing they ran on this campaign in Georgia for Senate.
Right. So Trump becomes the president. He was the president the last 4 years. What was, for me, I mean, it didn't really, you both know I work hard. I'm a hard working person. My life didn't really change much because he was the president. It was the same type of life before, while Obama was president to him, because he didn't really affect my life as far as the way I lived. COVID put a strain on me this year. But my adult children are grown, so I only had one child to really worry about. But other than that, his presidency other than him being a president, I didn't lose my home or.
I honestly don't feel like any president has affected my life.
Right.
I feel like I affect my own life.
Exactly.
And that is why I vote for the person I'd have a beer with, because honestly, you make your own choices.
Right.
I mean, the only thing he really affected in my life is the social embarrassment.
Right. That's
And
why.
how embarrassing it is for me to travel overseas now.
And I brought
As an
that up
American.
because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, he's the president, things are going to get bad." I'm like, and I just sat down and really thought. I mean, I struggled, but I struggled with Obama, and I struggled with.
Yeah.
Bush,
We make our own struggles. Yeah.
I can't say it's his fault, but the only thing that his presidency did was expose the people around me
Yes.
to how they really felt. Even in some situations, women that were in interracial relationships, even though they might be married to a black man and have biracial children, daddy's values started coming out.
I found that
in some
out. Yeah, I found that a
situations.
little disturbing.
So yeah, me too. Because I'm like, you have this black son, or this black, the one drop rule applies. That child is black, and this is what you believe, and and then I found it even more disturbing that black people were supporting him. But I tried to understand as some of them, when they explained it to me, I kind of got it. But then it came back to, but are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Are you, or maybe then they had me questioning, or maybe I'm not seeing what I think I'm seeing. And on a post I did yesterday, a couple of people said it's not everything that you're seeing is not like really the Democrats are in on what happened the last couple of days. Just like everybody knows everybody, the people rioting, the Democrats and the Republicans know who they are, and they're going to get a slap. That nothing's going to happen to them because they wanted this to happen to keep us divided. Is that how y'all feel?
Absolutely not.
What about you?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, one of the things that these congressmen, these senators that were sitting at this chamber that day, let's take Mike Pence.
Right.
Mike Pence, his wife was there. His daughter was there.
Right.
And these people came to the White House with zip ties. They came there with nooses. They
said they were going to pull the senators out of it.
Yeah, they were coming to take these guys.
Exactly.
And I think for a lot of them, this was a wake-up call.
I should have asked Laura to come in here. Yeah,
it was an
because Laura put
attempted
that on my post. I should have asked her. Laura, if you in the area, bring your tail up here. Because she put that on my post, and I was like, huh? The crazy thing about it, I pay attention. I'll put my posts on social media. I might scroll through some more that I'm off. I learned about this the week before. I picked up this lady in where was we at Kennesaw, I think, and she lived in like damn near mansion. It was her son's home, but she said she stayed 10 minutes from Biden in Delaware, and she was excited about the 6. She was like, "Girl, the 6, just get ready and make sure you have food for 2 days because it's going down." And I was like, "What? Like what?" And she said, "Especially if Ossoff and Warnoff win." And so she was like, "Did you vote for them?" And I was like, "No, I haven't voted yet." But I didn't want to really answer her because I'm making money off of her, and I wanted to. So I wanted to see where she was going. And so she broke it. She told me everything that was going to happen, the day and how and everything, and it happened and I started calling people and said, "This lady said." The moment it happened on the news, they said, "Are you watching the news?" And it was like, "Oh, girl was right. It's happening."
And as a Black man, that is what has infuriated me most of all.
Right.
And because
And they knew it was coming, and then they didn't even.
They didn't stop
but
it.
then I listened to the sergeant at arms. Well, we didn't have credible evidence of this. And then I listened to the Capitol Police say,
Oh, man.
well, our security didn't show us anything.
But
They've
did he
been
tell them
tweeting
in
it
the
for
debate?
weeks.
Did he tell his people to
Yes.
stand down then?
The Proud Boys
He said,
said,
"Stand by."
Oh,
down,
stand
but
by.
He
stand
said,
by.
"Stand by."
Okay, so he,
Right.
I'm going to give you the go. And then he stood out there and he said, "I'm going to walk to the Capitol with you," and gave them the go.
But
See.
every
That's what they were
radical
standing by for.
every radical group, the Proud Boys, the White Nationalists, every radical group on their websites, they didn't hide this. They
No.
weren't doing it on the dark web. They were on their websites talking to them saying, "Come ready for war." They
Right.
had T-shirts. If you watched it, they had T-shirts out there that day
Yeah.
that said Civil War, January 6th.
Yeah. I was just in Cherokee County and I was at the racetrack on 92 and a guy he had a Trump flag and he said F Biden, and on January the 19th is what it said. January 19th, something else is supposed to happen. And I looked around the gas station and I was just like, "Do y'all not see this?" And this lady said, "We see it, girl, we see it. We see it." And I was like, "But I bet the government doesn't see it."
They've been slow rolling through my neighborhood since June
Yeah.
with their pickup trucks. I live about 2 blocks from MLK's house,
Yeah.
right up Jackson Bridge.
Yeah.
And they just come in there at night and they come in lines and with their flags and everything and
Right.
their pickup trucks, and they just drive real slow and they look at people like they're going to do something or they could do something. And they've been doing this since June in my neighborhood.
Right.
so you by Fourth Ward.
I'm in the 4th Ward, yeah.
Okay.
Man.
Mm.
So, we do a lot of shows where we talk about the differences. And I know, to me, like we always compare like our street gangs, not ours, but the street gangs to the Klan, the White Nationalists, the Aryan Brotherhood or whatever. And we were talking about an incident when, they're always at Stone Mountain having their annual rally, and they protect them with the National Guard and the police and make sure that nobody does anything to them. But the street gangs can't even have a barbecue at Gresham Park, and they're infiltrating it, shutting it down. And it could be really their baby's birthday, and they're, because they're in the gang and they're a known gang member, they're going to stop it. But, I feel like the same way you know who they are, you've got to know who these people are too. But yet they're free to say whatever they want to say.
Going back to around the time that you asked about the party switching, that's around the time where they started building those gangs to protect their own neighborhoods.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but look at the statistics for that day, for January 6th. There were 340 activated National Guards, not deployed, activated. Big difference between the two.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A military
Now-
mom, I know.
Now, when BLM came to town, there were 400 National Guardsmen deployed from the state of Idaho. There were 200 National Guardsmen deployed from the state of Utah.
Right.
There were a total of 4,000 deployed National Guardsmen
Right.
when BLM came to Washington, D.C. in the summer.
Right. But see, yesterday on the news, nobody wanted to take ownership for making a decision.
Right.
The mayor, DC's mayor said, "Well, Capitol is not my jurisdiction. My jurisdiction is here. Capitol Police has to handle that.
Well,
And Capitol, we can't call in the National Guard because Capitol, that area has its own government. We can only do the actual city limits of DC."
Which was a lie.
Right.
Because she did call the National Guard.
Yes.
And she got the approval from Pitts.
well,
Right.
it was our own police was a lot of the front line who flashed
Yeah.
their badges to the police. they were working together, and that's how they got it in the first place.
Right. The one I was so, but honestly, I was so happy it happened because it showed the difference. It was it's undeniable difference. Like the first video I saw, you see the police letting them in the gate, and the other guys like, "Come on, it's a party."
Right.
We couldn't even be on the sidewalk saying, "Come on, come stand on this sidewalk with me,"
They
without
don't even drive close to it.
right getting a rubber bullet. We can't we even pick a flower off the Capitol lawn? Like we
No, we
cannot. But they can take artifacts out the building, and they were allowed to
And they
leave.
left.
And they were allowed to leave,
They
and we were sitting there like,
Wow.
And they were
wow.
trying to sell under the podium. They got offered for one of the podiums.
Right, they were
Like,
sick.
wow.
At first, I thought I was half asleep with that when I saw the one video, and I thought it was like the Village People. And then you sent it to me, and I was like, I swear when I saw that, I thought it was like the Village People dancing at the White House because of their outfits. But my JPay and my Corley said the prisoners communicate with me on what's going on. They was like, "Are you watching this misdemeanor?" And I said, "Yes, I see." They said, "Oh, but look at, we can't even smoke cigarettes in front of the White House," and and I was like, so, and then they kept trying to downplay. Like some of the people on CNN was blatantly like, now if they were black, if this was Black Lives Matter, y'all would shot them with rubber bullets, but then you'd get another one on there like, well, the difference here is, no, the
No.
Black Lives Matter was just standing there with their fist up. You shot at them.
They were
tear
standing.
gassed
They were
them.
standing out in the street. They weren't even up on the building line.
Right.
And this is where I am, you've got the Trump supporters saying the media is the enemy. You've got the black community saying the media is the enemy. And maybe they are. But there are opportunities. And there are opportunities that you have to take advantage of when you get these guys that are sitting there saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, if Black Lives Matter were here, they would do this. That's when we have to strike.
Right.
That's when we have to use the media. That's when we have to get in front of the camera. That's when we got to use that momentum.
That's what I say all the time. I was watching Power the other night, and on the stand, Tyreek did what I tell people to do all the time. I'm like, you have to take advantage of the powers that are there. Like you have a stenographer, is that the person?
Right.
You have that person sitting in the courtroom typing everything that's there. So if you're being railroaded, speak. Don't just sit there and cry and let them do it. You got to open your mouth because the media is there. She's there. The same way we can use Facebook and be at a party. Look at me with the mob. Get on Facebook and say, hey, my cousin Pookie is on trial and he, whatever. I said, but we don't do it. We just sit back and we keep our mouth closed and we allow them to run over us. The media is going to usually go with what the prosecution says or, the biggest spender says. And they're going to keep that because that's who funds their paper. So you
just have to be louder.
You got to be louder. That's what I tell them all the time. You can't just sit there and allow these things to happen. You got to speak up.
The thing with anger, frustration, hatred, animosity, it's all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Energy. Ball it up. Use it to your advantage.
Use it to your
and
advantage.
that's the thing that we have to do. We like to blow up, snap.
Right.
No, we have to play it cool. We have to be smart. We have to pick our spots.
Yeah.
But
I feel like now is the time to speak up.
Absolutely.
I do. And, I did a show last week, not ours, but I did it for another person. And it was the same guy that got on our show and was, fuck them crackers, excuse my language, but fuck them crackers, and we were trying to calm him down.
Right.
So
the real militant guy.
Right.
Okay.
The guy from the Vice Lords.
Right.
And he was on it as well, and he got on there and he was using anger. He was like, I'm tired of being nice. And I'm tired of this and that. And, we got to show them crackers and we have to do this and do that. And I was trying to keep them calm because I was like, my team is white. And
right.
I have a lot of people sitting down helping me that are white, and I'm not going to disrespect them.
Right.
But everybody started calling in, took his side, and they were like, don't you censor him because we've had enough. And I thought about it. I said, we got to meet in the middle. Yes, I've had enough too, but I'm not going to sit here and forget that there are people on our side.
Right.
And there are people wanting us to have the same privileges that they have.
Exactly.
They're just not winning. They're not winning. They're being over, they're outnumbered.
Right.
So what do we do in a situation like that? And I'm like, I'm ready to speak up. and do something about it. But, you know, I don't want to just sit at home and name call.
Right.
And I know we can't be violent because
And that's the beautiful thing about all this going on too, is that the allies have come out too. So you've got more people on your side
right,
too.
exactly. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's the thing that I always try to tell them. And right after the podcast, I said, if you guys are tired, what are we going to do about it? We should, now's the time to stand up. And I mean, some people want to get violent. And I'm like, we still live in this America where if we get violent, you know, you'll
It's a
get,
problem.
if we did anything that any of those Trump supporters did yesterday, I would be facing
And
multiple
go
white
back to the fact
sentences.
that the what rioting or whatever they said in Atlanta, that was one day.
Right,
It was one day the mayor said, hey, y'all, don't do that. We respect our mayor. We didn't
right,
do it anymore. Everything after that was peaceful, and they still continued to call it riots.
right,
I live right there. I was going outside with the protesters. They had masks on.
right.
They were giving out lunches.
Yeah,
They were the kindest group of people
yeah,
I've ever been around.
And there was a big difference
And
though
it was
between what
not
happened
right.
in Atlanta and what happened in DC.
right,
It's called leadership.
right.
You know, we had a leader
Exactly.
who immediately got on TV and she became a mom.
Yes.
Right.
I was
Go
gonna
home.
say, yes.
That's right. Don't you do that.
Right.
We had a leader the other
And
day
they
who
never
says,
did
I
it again.
love you, you're
Right.
patriots,
Yeah,
after you had just destroyed the U.S. Capitol building.
exactly. And the world is watching.
I mean, let's call this for what it was. It was
Yeah.
the Trump terror attack.
Right.
It wasn't a riot. It
No.
wasn't a mob. It was a terrorist attack.
Heck, it was.
You know,
It was.
so, I
When
mean,
you have
that's all it
senators
was.
scared for their lives because
Yeah.
people are coming there to actually kidnap them,
Right.
that's not a riot. That's a
That's-
planned kidnapping.
Exactly.
You know, but going back to your using the energy, you know, we have one of the best examples of someone who uses the energy right here in this state. Stacey Abrams.
Oh, yes.
I was listening
Yes.
to her the other night on CNN, and she did one of the smartest things ever. She knew after Warnock got become declared the winner, and it looked like Ossoff was going to win. They hadn't called him.
Right.
She got on there, and they were sitting there. They were talking. CNN was talking to her about the great job you did, and how you got all these voters motivated, and you got out there and you did this, and she was accepting that. And then, you know, the Trump challenges and how Raffensperger stood up, and she said, hold on, let's not give him credit.
Right.
You know, he's done one right thing. That doesn't erase all the dirt that he's done over the years.
Exactly.
The voter suppression, the moving
Yes.
of machines, the taking it out. Stacey Abrams is a master
Yes.
of using her opportunities
Right.
to take
Yes.
her shots.
Yes.
And that's what we need more of. And I'm not just going to say this Black movement, in this movement
Exactly.
to the right direction. Because if you watch the marches over the last year,
Right.
the protests, many of which I've seen, some of yours, when you go out and speak, I'm not seeing, and I apologize, I'm not seeing thousands and thousands of Black people out there.
No.
I'm seeing crowds of white people
Yeah.
out there fighting
Every-
for the rights of Black people.
Yes. Everyone that I spoke at, my crowd was mostly white.
It was heavily
But
white.
wait,
Even though I live in a heavily Black area, they were coming in from the suburbs.
Yeah.
You got your LBGQs
Right.
out there.
Here, I helped organize the first one, the one that got violent, but we didn't organize the violence. And then the next week we was in Duluth. I think me and Danielle went to Duluth and we marched with them, and that was very peaceful. And then I did Smyrna right in front of Fat and Bad Daddies. And then when I went to Denver, it was on the anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. And we were just bringing up all the injustices and things that need to change moving forward. And it was in the daytime, it was peaceful, but at night, well, actually, in the daytime, we had a group of white nationalists that came, and they was, you know, it wasn't even but like 6 Black people in the crowd, but they were screaming nigger, and we did have a lot of LBG. I don't ever get it right, but we had a lot of them, and they were yelling out slurs to them as well. And the police was ready to attack us.
Right.
But I don't know what made me say it, but I turned around to the police, to the crowd, and I had grabbed the megaphone. And I said, look, we're going to assume that the police are here to make sure we're okay, because we are exercising our right. We have a right stand here and peacefully protest. We haven't torn anything up. We haven't done anything wrong. We're just exercising our God-given right. And we're going to tell the police thank you for making sure we're safe. And everybody looked at me. They was like, that was because they was ready to fight. And I was like, I came all the way from Atlanta and I need to get back.
So you take control of that.
Yes, I need to get back. And then I looked at them. I said, okay, y'all ready to march? And I was like, yeah. And then I went over to the white nationalist.
Manipulation skills for the good.
But the funniest part about it is the white nationalist dude. They were the gay community. I can't remember the alphabet, but they were ready to beat his ass. And they was just like, she came all the way from Atlanta to speak, and you're calling her a nigger. And so I just walked right up to him. I said, why do you feel I'm a nigger? Do you know me? And he was like, no. And I said, well, let's talk. What did I do to you? And he was like, I don't even know you. I said, but you just called me. He said, well, that wasn't me, that was them. And I'm looking dead at him as he said it. And I was like, oh, so you're just marching with a bunch of people that like to say the N-word. And he was just like, I can't control what they do. And I brought that up to saying in a group, in a crowd, they're bold, but I just went right to him and was like,
when you would have dealt with that a little
a different.
I don't know what happened between then and now, but
Right,
yes,
girl.
right there.
Right. Yeah, we worked with a girl that told me that I
remember
was the
that day.
prettiest nigger that she'd ever seen in
I
her life.
remember.
And everybody was like, no, don't hit her. I was like, what you say? I was probably like 24 at the time. She was like, oh my God, you're the prettiest nigger I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, what? No, it's a compliment. No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't she wearing a Confederate?
Yes. But she had a black boyfriend though, so that just,
Oh, that made it okay then.
yeah, no, it did. But I'm just saying it just the whole
No, I
city
just love how they
voted.
use that to.
Right.
I got a black friend.
I got black boots.
But you know, when they get militant, when black people get militant like that,
Yeah.
I hate white people. All white people this, white people that. The one thing I like to remind them of one thing. What's that? The first freed black slave didn't free himself.
Exactly. I don't know why.
And you know, if you want to get anything done, you're gonna need a majority. And if you want a majority, you're gonna need a little bit of everything.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, because even if we all band together, if every black person in the United States bands together, we are still not the majority. We don't have enough to even come close.
19%.
Right. You just see us in specific areas, but
You know, I mean, there are areas where I'm disappointed. Once again, going back to your original topic in Mississippi, Mississippi has the largest population of black people in the country.
right.
Wow.
Largest population.
Amazing.
By percentage, Mississippi has more black people than any state.
You know what? They don't have those
However,
allies.
they do not vote. Slave mentality.
See, that's what Stacey Abrams helped Georgia out with. Is that they just felt like it wouldn't matter. And
Yeah.
so she's making people feel more like they matter, getting out,
And
educating folks.
did you see the exit polls that they did for this last election?
Mhm.
The exit polls, when they were looking about voter confidence, you know, they asked the white voters, how confident are you in that your votes will be counted and that your votes matter? I want to say it was like 44, 46% said yes.
Yeah.
44 to 46%. They went to the black people. It was well over 80%.
Mhm.
Black people in Georgia.
Right.
I mean, just say it out loud. Black people in Georgia, over 80% of them felt
Yeah.
like their votes counted and they mattered. And
Oh.
That's what
I mean-
Stacey Abrams did.
that's what
To the
Stacey
state.
Abrams
Yeah.
Well, let me tell
Exactly.
you, I always vote, but I voted late this time. The second election, not the president election, but
I went on
And
the day of this
UPS,
time. I
they
wanted
were-
my vote to count that day. I
Right.
went the day of.
on the presidential election, I went on the first day of early voting, but for this one, I was lazy. I went on the 5th. I went on the day of election, but at work, they were like, "Did you vote?" And I'm like, "Not yet." You better vote. I'm like, "Well, okay, I'm going to vote."
I apologize, I'm that guy.
Right. But I've ever since I was raised in a house where it was like the moment that I was able. I don't remember. It wasn't a presidential election when I came of age. It was the midterm elections. But I went and voted for like school board and stuff. And you know, Curly Bishop took me. He's proud that I'm about to vote, and he's telling me, okay, so you're gonna vote yes here, and you're gonna vote there. Since you don't want to read up for yourself, I'm gonna tell you who to pick. But he was just so proud, and then on the way home, he was just like, "Baby girl, what you did, your ancestors fought hard." You know, he really instilled it in me. So when my children became of age, it was the same thing. I was all excited. They're like mad because they're making them go vote.
And how cool is it to know that you made humans that get to vote?
They get to vote, right?
And get that vote up a little higher.
Right.
Too.
Now
they in Georgia, all of age, all voting. That's pretty cool.
Right.
And that's what I did with one of my employees, Nelson. If you're listening, I apologize for calling you out. Nelson's a 31-year-old Latino man.
Right.
Who voted for the first time in this presidential election, his first vote. And, you know, we pushed him, and he had a lot of questions, but we answered him. You know,
Right.
Like, oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? And we answered him, and he got out, and we did it. And, you know, the thing that you do with someone like that is when, you know, after this last election, I came in and I said, "Did you see what you did?" He
Right.
said, "What's that?" You didn't look at the results. Look at what you did. Look at what you did.
Yeah, it was exciting watching people interested because I'm always watching you know, after I done voted, I'm watching to see that what I want happen. But it was exciting to see, like, almost everywhere I went, like at work, you know, we're not supposed to have our phones at UPS unless we're a driver, but people were sneaking their phones in like, but, you know, but that was exciting because we only do that during sports. Like, you know, we're trying to slick and watch the game going, we got to work. But that was exciting. Just to hear young people getting in the car talking about, you know, who they're, even if they didn't agree with who I wanted, just to see that they were participating was exciting to me because the energy just getting ready to the vote was good. The only thing I didn't like, and Warren off, I voted for you, but I was sick of your people texting me because they text me.
Everybody's saying
Yeah, they text me for my children too because I guess when they registered, they used my phone number.
They came to our house.
Yeah. Oh, they came to my house. I had a flyer every day for each child.
You probably
For all
being
of
Stacey for that too. She's just making
Oh
sure.
my goodness!
$500 million they spent.
Right.
$500 million.
Oh my Lord! Every time I turn, I'm like, I'm not this popular. Hi, to me, this is Katie from Warren, Georgia. I was like, oh my goodness! Every 5 minutes, a beep beep, and it's them texting. So I'm glad they finally. I got like 2 today of thanking me, and then that was it. They were done. But that was the only thing that I didn't like.
And in all the evil, and I use the word evil that this president has brought, you know, I can say he's changed me.
Right.
You know, my views have changed.
Yeah.
You know, I can say I'll probably never go back to the Republican Party ever. You know,
something really big would have to happen.
He's exposed a lot of people. A lot
Right.
of, you know, I feel like a lot of those guys sold their soul for the presidency.
They did 100%.
Yeah, you know, they threw away their values for the presidency, you know, and I just can't overlook that.
Right.
You know?
Well, watching the news yesterday, I was like, why resign now? You were down for it.
And that's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. Because if you were really dedicated to this, you would stay in the cabinet and you would help invoke the 25th Amendment.
Right.
Now you just left, so you've just given up your responsibility.
Right.
Well, it just makes the whole thing even more of a joke. I mean, to begin with, you can't even take this whole party seriously anymore.
Right.
So Betsy DeVoe and Child, I have no respect for them whatsoever. I mean, you
Like
shirked
you
your
did in the
responsibility. You know,
Well,
if you were going to resign, do it 2 years ago.
Right. But from the moment he joined the party, the party was splitting up. The Republican Party, when he made it, they did not want to. So I mean, it took them forever to. So it was like I support President Trump, but the Democrats, it's like whoever wanted to nominee, I endorse them. Everybody jumped on board, whether they,
And
when Hillary lost to Barack, she immediately jumped on board with Barack.
And I've told people these Trumplican senators and all that, and Congressman Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, I guarantee you, when you are up for re-election, my ass will be in that state campaigning against you.
Oh, no, because I want that list, the list of 140 something people.
I'll be happy to send it to you.
Yeah, send me that list. I kept saying that they said like 3 people's name and then they said in 140 some more. No, we need to name them all because we want to know who's responsible for this. Because I guarantee you, let Obama have called, he won both terms, but let's say he didn't. let him have had all of us, black people, we'd be at
Yeah.
the Capitol and take what you want. We built it anyway. Take what you want. Oh, he would be arrested. Michelle, the kids would be arrested. I mean, the dog, everybody.
And one of my peers, he said to me, why are you so against Trump? You've benefited. And honestly, I'll be 100% honest. Financially, I have done exceptional since he's been in office.
Right.
But it's not all about money.
No, I consider that blood money.
It's not all about money. It's about being able to go to my son and look at him in the eye and say,
Exactly.
you know what, we did the right thing. I can't do that if I'm sitting there saying, ooh, Trump, because my bank account, let me look at it real quick.
Right.
It's not about that,
But see, the people that voted for him, half of them voted for him for those racist values, and the other half, it was about their money.
Right.
They didn't want to pay higher taxes that usually happen because Democrats give money away. They add to welfare. They add to, a lot of stuff, and then, taxpayers have to pay for it. And then, the young ones, the college age students, they just didn't want a politician. So it was just like, oh, he's a businessman. He'll run America like a business. He was running, to me, he was getting ready for his exit whenever. He just thought it would be 2 terms. So he made sure he could change.
To me, I honestly feel like those were all just excuses to vote for someone who would call them to be racist. I feel like everything they say that's something else is just something to say out loud.
Right.
Because you know what he stood for, you knew what he brought out of people, and you did it twice. Not once, but you did it twice.
Right.
Right.
See, I'm happy to have friends like you, because my friends, they know they have white privilege, and they don't like it. They want us all to have the same.
Yeah, I want to wait my turn at the hospital. I don't want to get shuffled in first.
Right.
I feel like a dick. Don't do that.
Right.
Let me wait my turn behind everybody else.
Exactly. I don't have not one white friend that says, but why do you feel I have privilege?
Oh my God.
I don't have any of those. So when
I had some, I don't anymore.
Yeah, when I read comments like that, I'm like, how do you not know? Like, you got to know. And I mean, we've had young white people come into UPS, and they're, in the slave quarters with us, sorting the boxes. And I say, girl, you better use your white privilege. And they'll look at me. I'm like, if I was white, I'd go in and go to corporate. Use that privilege right now.
And as a counselor and a therapist, I have avoided that. I mean, I have many, being from Mississippi. Right. And if you believe that Georgia is the heart of Trump territory, I'm sorry, you need to take a drive 2 states away.
Well, I saw an Oklahoma flag on the news. So, I was like, what?
Oklahoma, yes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I have, throughout this, I've kind of said, just because you like Trump and I don't, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Right.
Being friends and stuff like that. But I will say this. On Tuesday, a lot of that changed.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of that changed. I mean, you know what? As you know, I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
And what I saw was an attack on this country.
Yeah.
I saw a terrorist group trying to overthrow the government. Is the government perfect? Hell no.
No.
But it is the democratic government that we've elected.
Right. And I remember you said if this was any other country, they would be beheaded or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Every one of them.
Every
Even
one
the
of them.
public would be watching it right now.
I laugh so much when people say, oh, they're trying to turn us into communists. How are they doing that? They're trying to make us wear masks. Wait a minute. Put on a mask means you're a communist.
It makes
That
absolutely
the
no
government's
sense.
trying to control you by telling you to wear a mask.
How does that even do the government any good?
Is he sending them subliminal messages or something? Because like when I do Uber, all his supporters do not want to wear a mask. And they're like, I don't have COVID. How do you know you don't have COVID?
Yeah.
You could have just got it 5 minutes ago. How do you just know? Like, I get tested all the time. So every day you get a COVID test, just every day. Okay. But I mean, I was glad they didn't wear a mask on the news, but I was wondering, how is it that you need help finding him? They was like, we need help finding this guy. They're like, oh, like, wait, you need help finding him?